Hi yogis. This practice, I'm bringing you forward folds and hip openers. So this is an intro yoga class, which doesn't mean we're going to be doing everything beginner style. We will add a little bit of challenge to our practice. So I invite you to first come down onto your mat or onto the floor, finding a nice little comfortable spot for yourself. Coming down all the way onto our backs. So I'm going to bring myself all the way down here. Coming onto the back here, let's bend the knees and plant the feet down and just walk the feet a little bit wider than our hips. Let the knees fall toward each other, coming into sort of a tented shape. Open up the palms toward the ceiling, and we'll just take a moment here, easing out the low back with a little bit of support of the knees. And breathing in, breathing out. Let's just take a little time to bring ourselves here. I know it's not always easy to just hop on your mat and get into the mental state that you need to be in for a yoga class, or to let things go lickety-split just like that. So maybe it takes you, just like it takes me, a few breaths, a few moments, just a little time. It's a simple breath, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. And if it feels nice in the next breath, to lengthen out the legs, straightening out the legs nice and long, walking them as wide as the mat is or wider than the hips, and allowing lots of space to come across the hips to kind of widen them a little bit. Our toes point out so we feel that external rotation all the way up into the hip. We feel the bones roll away from the center of the body. Feel a little bit of peeling away, a little bit of unraveling, unfolding of the body. Maybe tucking the shoulder blades a little bit underneath the body to feel really open in the chest. There's lots of air being able to come into the front of the chest, the front of the body. And easily able to exhale the air out again. And see if we can breathe that belly, the air right into the belly. So let's place the palms on the belly. So maybe the hip bones are underneath the padded part of the heel of the hands, and we feel the fingers point in toward the pelvical bone. And just taking a breath in and out, ballooning that space, and exhale to allow the space to cave in. Inhale to balloon the space. And exhale to feel that space come back down. Moving the hands just a little bit farther up above our hip bones. Inhaling into that belly. And exhale to allow the belly to deflate and come back in toward the ground, toward the center of the body. And just one more time, inhale to balloon the belly. Into the pelvis, into the lower belly, and exhale to feel the belly come back down. Wonderful. Releasing the hands, opening the palms up toward the ceiling. Let's go ahead and start to bend the knees and bring the soles of the feet to touch. Perhaps that means we'd like to place something underneath the thighs to keep the thighs in toward each other a little bit more. So maybe it's a little bit too open for our hip flexors right now. Or it just feels really nice to have it wide and open. You can bring the heels as close or as far away from the body as possible, or as it feels good for you. The hands can rest on the inside of the thighs, or open them up and rest them as they were in the beginning. Imagining that breath being sent down into our pelvis, into the low, low, low belly. And if you'd like to place the hands on the hip bones or just above the hip bones to see if we can swell that breath into the low, low belly again. So inhale and exhale. Feel the breath come back down. One more inhale, balloon out as much as you can. And exhale, feel those fingertips come back together. Wonderful. Placing the hands on the outsides of the thighs, let's close our knees like a book. Interlace the fingers and draw our right knee into chest. So we're interlacing the fingers just on the outside of the shin. Just hugging that knee in either directly toward the chest or rotating the hip out slightly and bringing the knee toward the outer or toward the inner armpit on the left side. Planting down through the left or through the right foot. Sorry about that. Very common for me to mess up my left and rights in a normal class anyway. So squeezing our left knee in as much as we can with the power of our arms, just feeling that hinge of the hip, feeling the hinge of the knee, feeling the squeeze in the side of the body. And then if our knee is still in toward the chest, let's go ahead and transfer the shin in toward our left hand so we can rotate the knee outward. You might find conveniently enough the back of the forearm, or the tricep, or the elbow anchors down on the ground on the side toward the side of the body. So we can kind of squeeze that knee in or have an anchorage of our arm so we can hold comfortably. Placing the right hand on our right hip, just go ahead and lengthen out the right leg. Anchoring into the heel, pointing the toes up. Still feeling the same amount of hinge on the left side. And anchoring, reaching the right heel away from the body. See if we can press the right heel down in toward the ground. Just feel lots of energy in the right side. If we like to or need to use the right hand to press gently into the right hip, feel free to do that as well if that feels secure for you or supportive to you. Beautiful. With the right leg still anchored down, the heel still anchored down toward the ground or into your mat, bring the left knee in toward the chest. We'll interlace both the fingers and simply use the weight of the arms to hold the knee to chest. Still pushing down and reaching through the right heel. Beautiful. Fingers interlace on the back of the left thigh. Send the left heel up to the sky. Press the right heel down into the ground and reach the left heel up toward the ceiling or toward the sky, using our interlaced fingers as a little support. If we'd like to use a little bit of pull in those arms, feel free. Anchor, make sure we're still pushing into the right heel. So we may just feel the sensation of it pulling. It may not change the shape at all. Wonderful. Let's go ahead and open up the left leg to the side. So to the left side, opening it up here. If you do happen to have a strap or a scarf or a shoelace, well, maybe that's a little too thin, something, a string of some sort to hold onto the leg, and that's what you like. Otherwise, I like to bring my arm on the outside of my thigh and just sort of guide the leg toward the side, flexing through the heel, pushing down into the right heel, and maybe you find that leg opens up as we stay here for just a couple more breaths. Feel a little more space, give in a little bit, maybe using that right hand to push into the hip bone just a little bit. Beautiful. Inhale to bring the left leg back up again. We'll cross the left leg all the way over the right leg. So again, I like to hold maybe the outside of the thigh. If you do enjoy a strap or use a scarf, something like that, feel free to hook onto the ball of the foot. Maybe opening up the left arm into a cactus shape on our side or extending the arm completely helps anchor the shoulder blade down toward the ground. Push into the right heel. Allow the foot to turn out a little bit if it needs to. That's okay too. Wonderful. Bring the left leg back up into the sky, the knee in toward the chest. Push into the right heel and toward the ground, and just interlace the fingers on the outside of the left thigh or the left shin, just to use the weight of the arms to bring the leg down toward you, to hinge the hip. Beautiful. So release the left leg, set the foot down with the knee bent. Bring in the right leg, touch the foot down with the knee bend. And just take a moment to feel yourself out here. We'll interlace the fingers, bring them on the outside of the shin on the right leg this time. Just pulling that leg in toward the side of the body, or in toward the chest, or into the side of the rib cage, just like we did on the other side. So allowing the hip to hinge, the knee to bend. Take one more breath here. Wonderful. Start to push or lengthen our left leg out. Nice and long, just pushing the heel away from yourself, flexing the foot and pushing the heel in toward the ground. Let's transfer our right shin into our right hand so that we can open up the knee toward the armpit. And just resting the left arm wherever feels comfortable, maybe here, maybe by your side, maybe a cactus shape feels interesting. Just pulling that knee in toward the right armpit. Maybe the left hand feels like it could be of use, pressing or holding onto the top of the left hip bone and just kind of pushing it down a little bit. And again, just like the other side, you might find that the right tricep or elbow is able to just touch down on the ground, giving you a little anchoring point. Breathing into the hip, drawing the knee in toward the armpit, feeling that space. Pressing into the left heel, notice the glute engage, everything kind of lifts up and in toward the center line. Wonderful. Bring our right knee back in toward the center of the chest. We'll interlace our fingers in the back of the right thigh. Send that right heel up toward the sky. So we're using our hands and our interlaced fingers as a little bit of support. Pressing the left heel into the ground and lifting the right heel toward the sky. And just staying here for a few breaths, noticing if we can find a little bit of softness here. Anchor through that left heel, and pull that right leg up toward the sky. Simply breathe here. Notice the length in the back of the leg, the push into the left heel. And then we'll go ahead and open our right leg to the side. I'm going to miss out on a little bit of space here. So I have this wall here. I'm going to shift my hips over to the side. So you stay where you are and just go ahead and open that leg to the side again. Maybe you hold the back of the thigh just to give a little bit of support. Maybe the left hand touches on the hip. And just allow as your breath takes that leg toward the side. Let your leg go as far as it wants to go to the side. Anchoring into the left heel to feel just that really open space between the hips and the ribs. Beautiful. Let's bring our right leg back up toward the sky and we'll cross it all the way over the left side. Feel free to hold the outside of the left thigh, or if you have a strap or something like that or a scarf, feel free to wrap up the ball of the foot and hold that strap or scarf. Maybe our right arm comes toward the side in a cactus shape like our left did. Breathing into the upper chest, feeling space, kind of pushing away the right hip a little bit, away from yourself to feel some more space between the hip and the ribs. Beauty. Let's bring that leg back up into the sky, the knee to the chest. Interlace the fingers, give yourself a nice big hug into that leg, maybe toward the armpit or toward the chest, that's up to you. Wonderful. Bringing both knees into chest, give yourself a nice little squeeze. Take the knees a little wider into the insides of the elbows, and we'll either like cup our hands like this or hold onto the wrists, just allowing those knees to fall open and a little bit of space in the center of the body. So we have this little triangle shape. Let's breathe into this little triangular area, resting our shoulder blades, resting our spine on the ground, and feeling grounded through the hips as well. Feeling out the spine here, trying to lengthen the tailbone. So just imagine where, if you were a little doggy or a little cat and you had a tail, where it would be. And so imagine where that tail would come into the body. We're going to point that tail down toward the ground. So you may feel that the base of the tail is being pushed toward the ground a little more. I'll do my best to show you the difference. So my tail's coming in. It's lifted up off the ground a little bit. And what I'm trying to do is point my tail down toward the ground, pressing my tailbone toward the ground, using the arms as a little resistance, and you'll feel a little more firing up in our quads and in our hip flexors. So I'm just pushing down, using our arms to hold the legs, or to stop them basically from going down toward the back of the mat or toward the base of the mat. Just feeling as much of a squeeze as you like. So one more breath, pushing that tailbone down toward the ground or toward the end of the yoga mat, to feel our hip flexors, to feel our glutes kind of separate a little bit, our bum cheeks kind of engage and separate. Beauty. Ease it off. We'll send our legs up into the sky, send those heels up into the sky, long legs in the back. Feel free to hold on to the legs if you'd like to for a little support just to begin, or let them go. I'm going to put myself back on my yoga mat here. Legs up into the sky, big inhale. And exhale to open the legs, just as wide as you like to have them open. If you find that the legs just flop open and it's really easy for you to do that, maybe that means you might have a little hypermobility in the hips possibly. So it might be really nice to try something a little more challenging, bring the legs a couple more inches closer toward each other. So just closing the legs a little bit. You'll feel a lot more going on the sides of our body here and on the whole area of our abdominal area there, here too. Sending our heels out, holding on or letting go. If we'd like that extra little bit of challenge, bring the arms over the head, bend the elbows, and just take a moment here shining the heels out. And then pressing the balls of the feet away so we feel a nice good stretch on the tops of the ankles and a little bit on the tops of the feet and the toes. Another inhale here. And then exhale, draw the legs together, knees to the chest, relax. Maybe wrapping the arms around, giving yourself a little hug, maybe a little rock back and forth. Beautiful. Let's cross the ankles and come up to seated, or roll ourselves to the side and come up to seated. Bringing our legs to extend in the front of the body, so coming into a staff shape. Anchoring into the heels, lengthening of the legs as much as we can. Move around the bum flesh a little bit to find a little bit more connection through our sit bones into the earth. And then just take a moment here to break it down. Feeling the heels touch down, feeling the hip bones balance, letting the kneecaps relax, and noticing how much sort of caves in the low back. So you notice mine right away. I have this rounding in the low back. On our next inhale, see if we can press the backs of the knees in toward the ground to lift the hips up. To lift the rib cage away from the hips. So feeling a little more length. And we can try it again, get really lazy, anchor into the heels, anchor into our bum, but let go of the knees and let your belly cave in and let your shoulders cave in a little bit, and just notice here. Take an inhale, push through the backs of the knees, lift the rib cage away from the hips. Beautiful. We feel a lot more length, a lot more space to breathe. Breathing into the upper chest, scooping the belly in toward the bottom of the rib cage so you feel a lift and you feel lots of integrity through the back. Wonderful. Walk our feet as wide as our yoga mat is, or a little wider than the hips if we're not on a yoga mat. Taking a moment to breathe in through the upper chest, push into the backs of the knees. Scoop the belly in to find space, to feel a little wider in the sides of the hips. Beauty. Bringing in the left foot onto the inside of the right thigh, just above the knee. Anchoring into the right heel. Again, lift through the upper chest. Wonderful. Inhale, arms reach with us this time. Pivot ourselves to face our extended leg and exhale to hinge just from the hips. And when you find that the spine is beginning to round, release the hands. Just resting the hands or the fingertips on the ground, imagining our heart being sent toward our toes. Imagine where that tailbone is like before and see if we can kind of tilt our tailbone outward. So lifting the chest forward, inhale through the upper chest. Exhale to scoop the belly in toward the rib cage and feel the hinge of the hip. It may not be that much of a visual change, but you may feel very different inside. Beautiful. One more big breath here. Heart to the toes. Anchor into the heel to maybe push it in toward the ground and pull it toward you to see if we can hinge a little closer, bring our rib cage a little farther forward. Beautiful. Walk the fingertips back toward your hips. Hips back in the center. Inhale up. Exhale toward our knee, so toward the left, bringing the right hand on the outside of the thigh, the left thigh, and the left arm behind ourselves in a little bit of a twist. So we'll go ahead and anchor into our left fingertips. Push the fingertips away. Inhale through the upper chest. Feel really tall and long here. And again, kind of imagine that tailbone being tilted outward and our ribcage being sent forward. Maybe we look beyond our left shoulder. And then back toward the center. Inhale, arms up toward the center, all the way toward the ceiling. Exhale, hands toward the heart. Beautiful. Let's do the other side, extending the left leg. Again, with a nice little bit of width between our legs. Bring in the right leg and toward the inside of the left thigh, above the knee. Beautiful. Big breath in toward the center. Pivot ourselves toward our extended leg, so the left leg, reach up and exhale, belly comes in. We hinge ourselves until we feel ourselves start to round and then release the hands toward the ground. Anchoring fingers or palms. Imagine the heart coming toward the toes. Push in toward the ground with our left heel and pull it toward you a little bit, just to feel a little bit more tilt in the pelvis. Inhale through the upper chest. Exhale, the belly pulls in, and maybe you find a little more space here. Heart to the toes. Use the heel, pull the heel toward you. Inhale, upper chest. Exhale, belly comes in. Wonderful. Inhale, walk yourself back up. Come back to center, lift the arms up to the ceiling. And then we'll go into our side twist. So the left arm comes toward the outside of the right thigh, our right fingertips behind the spine. Push into the fingertips or the palm to draw the rib cage forward, to maybe feel a little more tilt in the tail. Find space between the hips and the ribs. Inhale through the upper chest. Belly scoops in and perhaps we look beyond our shoulder. The right shoulder looking behind ourselves. Inhale, push the fingers away, lift the rib cage. Exhale, belly in. Beauty. Let's come back to center, lift our arms up through the center. And exhale, heart. All the way down to the chest. Wonderful. Let's bring the soles of our feet to meet here. Kiss our soles of our feet together. Maybe we prefer having the heels farther away. Maybe it feels nice to have them snuggled in toward the pelvis. Just holding onto the ankles or linking fingers to the ends of the toes, sending the chest forward, lifting the rib cage away from the hips on your inhale. Exhale the belly in, scooping in, perhaps giving just a little bit of hinge in the hips. Inhale through the upper chest. And exhale, hinge through those hips. Send our tail out, tilt that tail out behind you. Inhale, upper chest. Exhale, hinging the hips and just allowing yourselves to hinge as far forward as you're able to. Allow those glutes to come apart, the hips to open and soften with each exhale, sending our tails behind ourselves, sending our rib cage forward. Maybe we let go of the toes and we want to walk the hands a little bit farther just to get them out of your way if they're too far in toward the belly. Inhale, upper ribs, upper chest. Exhale, hinging through. Finding a nice forward fold here, a nice really open hip forward fold. And we'll take just 3 more breaths here, nice and slow. Maybe the feet have opened up like a book, and we feel the outer ridges of our feet touching, the blades of the feet touching. And maybe the toes have opened up a little bit here. Soften into those hips. Find that little bitty bit of discomfort and breathe through that discomfort, discovering something new, something interesting, something different. One more great big breath here through the upper chest. Scoop the belly in on the exhale and see if we can maybe come down a little bit lower. On our next inhale, bring the hands about shoulder width apart. Press into one hand and then the other. Kind of cat walking ourselves back up. Allow yourself to sway as much as feels nice for you and coming back to the center. Let's go ahead and place our hands on the outsides of our thighs, close our knees like a book, and we'll come into an all fours shape. So come into a tabletop shape. Coming onto hands and knees, placing our wrists under our shoulders and our knees under our hips. Just take a moment to find our position here, pressing the ground away with those palms, pulling the belly in toward the body, feeling a lot of structure on our abdominal wall, feeling a lot of pulling in toward the center line of the body. Let's take our knees a little bit wide as you feel comfortable. So if you are okay with them being as wide as the yoga mat, bring them nice and wide. Kiss our big toes together. If you want just them in a little bit farther, feel free to do that. Pressing the ground away, take a great big inhale. And exhale, sink the hips toward the heels. Just press those palms away from you, long arms. Inhale, draw forward, shoulders over wrists. And exhale, bring the hips back to the heels. So let's do this little active child's pose flow. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, and exhale. Let's do 3 more. Maybe walk the hands a little bit farther, sink into your hips a little bit more. Inhale, shoulders over wrists. Let the hips sink down as you come forward. Exhale, bring it back. Maybe sinking down a little lower, walking the hands a little farther. Inhale, letting the hips sink, shoulders over wrists. Exhale, press back and sink. Go as wide as you like to. Let's do 2 more. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, shoulders over wrists, let the hips sink. Exhale, draw back. Beautiful. Let's come forward into all fours, walk our hands back in, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips, separate those feet a little bit here. Let's do a couple cat-cows, bringing the tail to lift, belly to drop, pull the mat toward you to lift the chin and chest. And then curving the tail in, rounding the spine, tucking the chin. One more time. Inhale. And exhale to cave it in. Inhale back to that neutral shape, that neutral spine. We'll go ahead and tuck our toes, lift our hips up and back, lengthen out those legs, come into a downward dog shape. Let's pedal those heels, walk the feet, feel the toes and the ankles, and the knees and the hips. Beautiful. Let's take ourselves through a little vinyasa flow here. So we'll press back in our down dog. Inhale toward the plank shape, our plank shape coming forward, moving our hand positioning if we need to, shoulders over wrists. Exhale, come down to the belly. Inhale the back bend, maybe a cobra, maybe an upward dog, lifting the knees and the thighs. And then back to our downward dog shape. Take a breath here. Beautiful. Coming back down to all fours, bring the knees underneath the hips, the wrists under the shoulders. We'll go ahead and take the right leg behind ourselves, so nice and long. Pointing the ball of the foot behind ourselves, just a nice really long line. Then we'll go and make circles with our foot, just drawing them behind ourselves. Maybe they're circles or squares or ovals or blobby shapes. That's okay. Beautiful. Other direction. Little or big. It's totally up to you how many circles you like, what kind of circles you like. Let's bring the right knee into the back of the tricep, or into the only tricep. There's three, but they're at the back of the arm. And then lengthening out the leg. Bringing the right knee in toward the side of the body, enough room so we can draw circles. Let's do one direction, as much as you like to, as wide as you like to, and then the other direction. A couple times, beautiful, lengthen out that leg. Bring the knee back down. Take a moment to switch the hips side to side, do what you need to do here, and then we'll go ahead and lengthen out the right leg, or the left leg behind ourselves. Pointing through the ball of the foot, feeling length through that leg, pushing through, opening from the hip, away from the ribs, feeling space in the side body, and drawing circles, one direction. Little or big, pointing, feeling length, pushing through the ball of the foot. Wonderful, other direction. Little or big, circles or ovals, it doesn't matter. Beautiful. Bringing the left knee to the back of the left arm, squeezing it in. Beautiful. Extending that leg behind. And then bringing the left knee in about halfway to our arm and making circles with the knees. Draw a circle with our left knee, one direction. A few times, and then the other direction. Little or big. Ovals or squares. And one more. Extend that leg nice and long. And bring our knee back down. Shift the hips a couple times side to side. So open up the knees as wide as we're comfortable. Kiss our big toes together and sink back to a child's pose. Support yourself as you need in a child's pose. Maybe it's not quite the restful pose it is for me or for many people. Maybe placing something under the belly or under the knees or stacking the fists under the forehead can help feel a little more comfortable. In through the nose, out through the nose. Maybe it feels nice to sway a little bit in the hips, just to shift them side to side. Beautiful. Let's extend our arms toward the front of the mat. If we hadn't already, if we tuck them in or around the body, let's bring them out front. Walk the fingertips away from you. Plant into the palms. We'll come up onto our hands and knees. So maybe walking the hands in a little bit underneath the shoulders. Bring the knees back in underneath the hips. We'll tuck our toes and come back up to downward dog. Hips up and back, nice long legs. Pressing into our finger pads. The padding of the hand, nice long arms, just push the ground away from you to feel length in the arms, pedal the heels if you need to. Inhale through the upper chest. Exhale to scoop the belly in. Look between the palms, inhale to walk to the top of the mat, toward the hands into a forward fold shape. So just letting a really nice deep hinge happen in the hips, letting the crown of our head come down toward the ground, and just releasing as much as we can. Kind of ragdoll shape. Let the arms go, let the head go. Maybe shaking no, 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 and yes, yes, yes. Let's inhale a halfway lift. So let's break down this halfway lift that we all go into quite often in a flow, in between lots of things. So let's find the hands at our shins, below the knees. Lengthen out the arms. Press the palms gently into the shins. Lengthen out the legs quite a lot. Inhale through the upper chest. Exhale to scoop the belly in toward the bottom of the rib cage and see if we can pull the shoulders away from the ears, maybe even tilting the tail outward a little bit. So let's breathe in through the upper chest. Exhale to scoop the belly in, maybe bring the gaze a little bit forward. So you might be able to feel a little bit of tilt in that tail. Beautiful. As we exhale, let's fold all the way down, bend the knees and hinge the hips, let the head go. Inhale, a half lift. Hands to the shins to begin with. Let's take 2 breaths here. Inhale, pull the shoulders away from the ears. Release or lengthen the neck. Inhale through the upper chest. Exhale, scooping the belly in, feeling more of a tilt in the tail, maybe even a little more energy or needing a little more energy through the back of the body. Beautiful. As we exhale next, the belly comes in and we fold. Soften those knees, hinge the hips a lot. Trying a different half lift, so your next inhale, let's bring the fingertips toward the ground, about a foot away from your toes. Pointing the fingertips in toward the ground, maybe your arms are long enough, maybe they're not, and maybe the shin was the right half lift for you. I'm just going to show you a little variation. So you can bring the fingertips toward the ground here and do the same thing here. Inhale through the upper chest. Exhale, the belly comes in, and we fold. Soft knees, hinge the hips. Inhale, rise, big tall stretch, arms above the head. Reach as far up as you possibly can, and exhale, hands toward the center of the chest. Beautiful. Take the feet a little bit wider than the hips. Inhale, arms up, big long tall stretch. Exhale, hands through the heart, soft knees, hinge the hips, and we'll fold nice and deep, wide legs. Inhale, a half lift of your choice. Exhale, belly in and fold. Inhale, rise up, big, long, tall stretch. Reach as high up as you possibly can. And exhale through the heart center. Let's go and take our feet a little bit closer together, but hip width apart. Lifting up the right leg and taking a great big step back and opening ourselves up to the side of the yoga mat. So coming into a wide stance, a wide forward fold stance. Pointing our toes or angling our toes in ever so slightly so we can frame the outside blades of the foot with the outside edges of the yoga mat, or our imaginary yoga mat, wherever we ended up. So let's bring our arms up, big reach. Send our bums behind us, send our chest forward, arms forward, and go into a nice wide fold. Let the fingertips touch down or bring something under your hands if it feels more comfortable. You can step the feet a little bit wider if you'd like, or a little closer. Just take a moment to notice the hips. Maybe sway a little bit side to side and notice what you might need. So our toes are angled slightly inward. Let's start to press into the outer blades of the feet. Get a grip of the mat or the ground with your feet and kind of pull them apart from each other. Pull the heels away, pull the edges of the feet away, push into the balls of the feet. So just the portion where our toes meet our foot, kind of pushing them away from yourself. And you may start to feel a little more opening. You may start to feel a little bit of an internal rotation of your thighs. So just inward, like so you might feel. So you might feel behind yourself, it open up. Come open up a little bit. You may also feel your bum cheeks or your glutes open up as well. So that's an interesting sensation. So let's push into the outsides of the feet, heels, kind of pull the mat apart from yourself. Place the fingertips or palms, allow the crown to fall down. And then push the ground away from you a little bit with those palms. Feeling really open and wide through our back. Feeling really open and wide through the hips. Being able to discover and identify a little bit of the inside of the legs, but also being able to discover and identify that rotation. So feeling our quad muscles wrap in, or our thigh bones wrap in, feeling our glutes come outward a little bit, bloom outward from behind ourselves. Good. Bring ourselves up a half lift, so maybe fingertips, maybe palms to the shins. Beautiful. Inhale, bringing our hands to the hip crease. Just take a moment here, take a breath, exhale. Inhale, press into the balls of the feet to raise ourselves back up. Push in and come up. Arms come up with us, big reach. Kiss those palms together and draw them down to the center of the chest. Wonderful. Turn our toes outward. So wherever the knees are going to point, let's go into just a nice little wide squat and notice where the knees are pointing. Point our toes in that same direction. Wonderful. Arms come up with us, big reach. Exhale, elbows to ribs, bend the knees, coming into sort of a goddess shape. So notice if we're leaning forward, find our shoulders in line with our hips, and we might find we just lean forward normally and our bum kind of sticks out a little bit. Let's draw a nice wideness into the hips, push, get a grip of the feet and pull them apart a little bit, pushing the knees outward, the hips forward, so you feel this nice strong line here. A little more challenging in this position to feel those shoulders in line with our hips, and we'll just take a moment here to breathe. Resting the hands wherever we like. Resting the shoulders, lifting through the upper chest, breathing in through the upper chest. Keeping that lift, scoop the belly in and feel the structure you've created. Beautiful. Bringing our arms to shoulder height, pointing our palms or drawing our palms to shine toward the ceiling. Next, inhale, straightening the legs, bring the palms above the head and kiss those fingers together. Beautiful. Exhale, bend the knees, open up those arms. Inhale, back up. Exhale, sink down. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, come back into your hips. 2 more. In and up. Exhale and come down. 1 more. In and up. Exhale and come down. Wonderful. Bring the hands to the hips, straightening out the knees. Let's walk our feet a little bit farther in, still pointing, actually let's point our toes toward the front of the mat. Bringing the feet about 2 hips worth in width. It's going to create a little bit of cardio here. So we'll bring our arms up with us. Big sun breath, hands toward the center of the chest. Next time we bring our arms up, we're going to give ourselves momentum to push over to our left side and come into a tree. Sounds crazy. Let's go back down. Okay, toes point forward, arms at shoulder height. Inhale, reach those arms up, hands toward the center. Nice sun breath. Bring your arms up, give ourselves a little bend in our left knee to come up with the right and come into a tree. Bring the foot just below the knee. Beautiful. Arms out shoulder height as you kick that foot back. Nice and simple. Let's come back, arms come up, give yourself a little bend in the right knee to bring the left leg just below the knee. Arms up. Beautiful. Arms out, we'll step back. Let's do a couple more times. Give yourself some bend. We're going to bring that right leg in, right foot in toward the inside of the left leg. Arms open wide, step back. And then go to the other side. Whoop, bringing the left leg on the inside and stepping back out. Let's do one more time. Coming in, right foot toward the inside of the left leg and step out, arms wide. Left leg on the inside of the right leg, underneath the knee, arms up. Exhale, arms wide. Beautiful. Arms come up. Let's go into a nice wide fold. Point our toes slightly inwards. Send the hips back, the chest forward. Release yourself down. Pressing into the outsides of the foot, the ball of the foot, the heel. Get a grip of the mat and kind of pull the feet out. Feel that rotation of our thighs coming in toward the body, flaring out toward the back. Feeling our glutes open up as well. Beauty. Halfway lift. Hands toward the hips, just sliding them in. Take a breath here. Press into the crease of the hips, send our elbows out. Long neck. Inhale. Come all the way back up. Wonderful. Arms come up, big sun breath. Draw them back down to the center of the chest. Heel toe our feet into about hip width apart. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hinge the hips and fold. Open arms, swan dive down. Inhale, a half lift. So finding a half lift of your choice, maybe the fingertips, maybe the hands on the shins, and fold back down. Inhale, big, tall stretch. Arms come all the way up and hands back toward the heart center. Let's bring ourselves back to the top of our yoga mat or back to the beginning where we started. Arms come up with us. Hands together, fold all the way down. Inhale, a half lift. And exhale to fold very, very deeply. Deeply enough that we can plant our palms down on the ground, bend the knees as much as you can so that we can walk back, step back into a downward dog. Nice long step back with those legs. Walk the feet in if you need to, finding a little connection through the heels, pressing through the palms. In through the nose, out through the nose. Coming in to cool down, let's bring the knees down and revisit one of our little stretches here. So let's go ahead and swing the knees to the side. Come into that staff pose, the legs extended to the front of the body like we did in the beginning or close to the beginning of the hour. Anchoring the heels down, remembering what it takes to create length in the spine. So pressing through the backs of the knees, lifting the rib cage on the inhale and feeling a nice good connection with our sit bones toward the ground. And take another breath here. And opening up our legs as wide as the mat or a little bit wider. Bringing our right foot in toward the left thigh. So just above the knee and snuggled in toward that leg. Pushing into the left heel a little bit, lifting the rib cage to inhale, let the shoulders relax. Inhale, arms up toward the ceiling. Exhale, we pivot toward our extended leg, so toward the left leg, reaching up, hinging through the hips and allowing those hands to rest down, finding a nice straight back or a nice flat-ish back. Inhale, lifting through the upper chest. Exhale, the belly comes in and we fold. Feel free to soften the knee a little bit for this one, maybe bringing the belly down to the thigh. We can wrap the hands around the knee, just resting the hands. Beautiful. Next, inhale, bringing ourselves back up, straightening the leg, reaching the arms up toward the ceiling, coming into our twist. So let's pivot ourselves over toward our right leg, bringing our left hand on the outside of the thigh, the right hand or fingertips behind the spine, and press the fingertips away from you to lift the rib cage up high on the inhale, scooping the belly in, feeling our tail maybe point or tilt toward our fingers. Maybe looking beyond the shoulder. Beautiful. Bring your arms back toward the center. Inhale, arms up. Beautiful. Exhale, hands toward the heart center. Inhale, arms raise up. Exhale, let's pivot ourselves toward our extended leg, placing the left hand behind ourselves, reaching the right hand up, pressing either the left fingertips away from you to bring the rib cage to lift, or the palm, reaching the right arm up into the sky. And if it serves you in this position to anchor the back hand down, to find the left heel of the hand and the left palm suctioned right toward the ground, anchoring into the left heel. Maybe this feels interesting to lift the hips up off the ground, anchor into the heel, anchor into the knee, maybe pointing the foot, reaching the right arm up. And then exhale to bring it back down. The right arm comes down with us. We come back to the center. Just take a moment to see how that felt. And then we'll go ahead and switch sides. So let's bring that right leg out, left leg in. We know what we're doing here. Anchor into the heel. Reach it toward you, lift the arms up toward the ceiling, pivot ourselves to face our extended leg, our right leg, hinge through the hips, and fold yourself down. When you feel a little curvature happen in the spine, let the fingertips rest down. Find an anchor in the heel and maybe imagining the tail tilting out, imagining your hips hinging a little bit more and coming toward that leg. Maybe a little bitty bend in the knee, bringing the belly toward the thigh feels really nice. Extending the arms. One more breath. Beautiful. Extending that leg, if we did bend the knee, walk the hands back up. Inhale, arms toward the ceiling, up toward the front and the center, and then we'll pivot ourselves toward our left knee, placing the right hand on the outside, the left fingertips behind ourselves. Maybe pushing the fingertips away from you to feel that ribcage lift, the tilt of the tail a little bit. And if it serves you to try to notice if your body is calling for something else, placing the left palm nice and secure down on the ground, reaching the right arm up into the ceiling. Beautiful. Anchoring into the right heel, lifting the hips up, lifting the right arm up with us and the hips up too, anchoring into our left knee. Beauty. And we'll come back down again, back toward the center. Inhale, arms up, and exhale toward the chest, toward the center of the chest. Beauty. Let's bring both knees in, or both heels in to touch. Sandwiching our feet together, maybe opening up the tops of the feet like a book, just making some circles with the hips. Nothing too complicated here, just getting rid of some tension that you may feel in the hips, giving yourself a little massage. Wonderful. Coming into cool down and into our Shavasana. So we'll start to close our knees like a book, come onto our backs, lay ourselves down. Lengthening out those legs, if that feels nice to you, if it feels good to have the low back supported, feel free to bend the knees, walk the feet out, and maintain a little bit of support there, especially with all of that hip work. If, in turn, all of that hip work made you feel really nice, feel free to kiss the soles of the feet together and let the knees fall open. If this feels nice for you, stay here. If it feels great to lengthen out those legs, feel free to do that. Tucking the shoulders under, maybe rolling the thumbs away from the body, shining the palms up. Noticing any differences from the beginning to now. The spread of the hips. The bones down the legs, the heaviness in the body, strength, stability. Just take a moment to investigate yourself, to discover something, anything. Maybe it was something that was there all along. Maybe it feels like it's something new. In through the nose and out through the nose. And I'll bring you back when it's time to come back. staying exactly where our bodies chose to land without changing anything. Just feel. Notice. Discover. And on our next breath, without changing anything, feel love, compassion, patience, kindness, and softness within ourselves. Enjoy the idea of being strong and soft at the same time. Strong enough to be soft and gentle. Be patient with yourself. Take a little time for you, bringing your internal world to the external world. Feeling the fingers and the toes and the space in between. The air against our skin, the temperature of our bodies, the pace of the breath and the heartbeat. It's pretty rare that we get to take our time. So take your time. Nice big breath. Find the fingers and the toes and the hands and the feet. Maybe rocking the heels, swiping the feet side to side. Let's bring our arms overhead and point the toes. A nice long, long stretch. Open up the belly. And then bring the knees in toward the chest. Let's roll onto our right side. Take a nice breath here. And start to lengthen out the left leg, pushing into the right hand, or the left hand, sorry, coming back to a seated shape. And meeting in a easeful seat. Maybe cross-legged, maybe we sit on something. Let's close our eyes and sit up nice and tall. I invite you to place one of your hands on your chest and one on your belly, and feel the warmth of your hands against the core of your body. And take a full breath in and release the exhale. My heart is at ease, knowing what's meant for me will not pass me by, and what passes me by was not meant for me. Let's bring our arms open on top of, all the way above our head into a big sun breath to end our practice, and hands through the center of the chest. The light and the love in me honors the light and the love in all of you. Namaste.